not bother to look at the case. It's a case against the Tantocos, the owners of Rustan's, the
Right,
franchise
right.
holders of Starbucks, who were given an exclusive duty-free franchise by the Marcoses during the dictatorship and who cashed in on that.
Yeah.
The PCGG sued them in 1988. The problem, as with many other PCGG cases, is that you will not have a paper trail of how Marcos and the Tantocos operated because this was a dictatorship. And then you have the Supreme Court 36 years later claiming there is no written evidence
Yeah.
that Marcos favored the
Well, good luck with
Tantocos.
that.
What about the fact that nobody else had a franchise on duty-free shopping in the Philippines other than the Tantoco family? These are self-evident
Yeah.
things that any person who has some legal training and
Yeah.
understands what a dictatorship would know. But unfortunately for us, and also unfortunately with the way the media depicts these
Yun nga,
cases,
exactly,
you
yeah.
get piecemeal reporting that doesn't really give you the truth and therefore allows the Marcoses to
Yeah,
continue
or
their
gives an impression,
disinformation.
right? I mean, and of course, Imelda is really good at doing that, right? To emphasize the court cases that did not prosper. I mean, obviously, I mean, there could be 1,000 cases. There are gonna be 5 or 10 that don't prosper, and then by just focusing on the 5 and 10, you give an impression there's no more problem, right? So that's you're absolutely right. The information management issue is a big issue, and then yun nga, may kasalanan talaga tayo in terms of strategy, no, not making it easier. We should have made it harder, right, for this information. So, on last point of our conversation for today, what is your read on the Maria Ressa issue, the Lima issue? Obviously, they're of course different and unique in their own ways, but at the same time, we're seeing a wave of, if I can call it even a wave, of movement in the some would say positive direction. What's going on there? What's your read on that?
Well, one thing about the Leila De Lima case, when the Philippine government argued at the ICC that it is able to prosecute these drug war killings,
Yeah.
one of the reports that they point to is investigations carried out by the Senate of the Philippines.
Right. Correct. Correct. Correct.
And when you look at what they're really referring to, these are investigations that Leila De Lima opened and as DOJ secretary and CHR chairperson, and then tried to follow up as senator. So you can see the hypocrisy of
Yeah.
both the
Yeah. Yeah.
Duterte and the Marcos people here, where they invoke Leila De Lima's own role in investigating drug war killings to say we're able to investigate drug war killings. Um, I think that Duterte and, as you said, even Gloria Macapagal Arroyo have decided that this is how they will this is how they will take revenge, essentially, against Leila De Lima. And the Philippine judiciary is, of course, notorious for the way it plays politics, the way appointments are handed out for judgeships in the Philippines. But on the other hand, you do have individual judges who have enough self-respect to
Right.
decide on the basis of what is just.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we've seen
Exactly.
that happen in the Imelda Marcos conviction, for example, at the Sandigan Bayan.
Or even the Trillanes
And we
case,
can
no? Even
still
yeah,
possibly see
yeah,
that happen in the case of Leila De Lima.
yeah,
With the case of Maria Ressa, um, you can see there that not even international pressure
mm-hmm.
can change the dynamics of Philippine politics and how it corrodes justice and the way courts function in the
Mm-hmm.
country. Nobel Peace Prizes,
Don't give
awards
you
by
a yeah.
foreign
Don't
press
give you a shield.
clubs and
Yeah.
governments do not change the way what has always been a corroded system of justice in the Philippines. And so, and I know Maria Ressa will not begrudge me from saying that she has reached out. People around her have reached out to me for help in terms of finding a way to for the justice system in the Philippines to look at these cases in a more professional way at the very least. But
Yeah.
that's difficult to do, like I said, when the justice system in the
Undercards are
Philippines
yeah.
is just too corroded to. You need a new justice system. You cannot fix it.
So are you slightly more optimistic on one case versus the other? Yeah, like because but there was a DOJ memorandum, sorry, directive, saying that the case of De Lima has to be settled now within less than a year, right? Because this just cannot go on forever. So the moment of reckoning is coming closer than later, right? So, are are you more optimistic on one case over the other, or this could wildly go in different directions? Or false
I
done?
think
Did we
that
see just a false done in the first year? That's my fear.
yeah, I think unlike the ICC case, which Marcos Jr. will want to keep as leverage,
Mm,
he has no interest in using Leila De Lima as leverage against Duterte. Maybe in relation to Arroyo, perhaps, but even that
mm,
isn't really as strong a matter for either of them as for Duterte. So I think at the right time, it is possible that Leila De Lima will get the kind of
yeah.
decision that she ought to have gotten in the first place already and be released. With respect to Maria Ressa, I think that these are cases that have gone as high as they can, and I think there's going to be another round of Duterte trying to influence the way these cases are handled. Perhaps one of the things that your viewers
Yeah.
can watch out for is how Rappler's coverage of Marcos Jr. changes. I am not. Many of them are
No
my
comment.
friends.
No
I
comment. No comment.
I've worked with them, but I think Rappler should be subject of scrutiny as much as any other crony owned or Marcos afraid media outlets in the Philippines, and see whether that changes as well.
Thank you so much on that. Sorry, I want to add this last point. Supreme Court. Supreme Court. I think we cannot talk about Philippine justice system without talk. So the Supreme Court, the issue of weaponization or cyber libel is something that they have to grapple with. But the other one, of course, is also the ICC issue, right? We have had a Supreme Court take kind on the ICC withdrawal. Where do you see that the Supreme Court dynamic on the cyber libel aspect and also on the ICC jurisdiction aspect? Because I think that puts everything together one way or another. Again, without putting you in trouble, what what's your read?
Well, you have Marcos appointees and Duterte appointees, and many of them I don't know. I would only say that if the qualification for many of them is because they were in Davao or they were recommended by a Marcos crony, then it's very likely that intellectual capacity isn't one of the highest qualifications that led them to their appointment. There are, however, justices who I know, and so therefore I can say more about them,
Yeah,
who I trust. Marvick was
of course,
we
Leon.
were in law school together, and I think he's trying his best to do the right thing. The Chief Justice was my colleague in the PCGG, and I have to be honest and say I've been disappointed in how he has not. He can inhibit, and he may have to inhibit in many of these cases, but at the same time, I think there are cases in which inhibition is a moral coward's way out.
Yeah, leaving the field to the enemy.
Right, because when you are both the leader of the institution and the institution is a justice institution, it's important to assert your leadership and to make sure that you leave behind an institution that, above all, in a country that's been plundered and among people who have been murdered, there's some even just the littlest hope is possible.
Yep. Thank you very much on that, I would say, hopeful note. I noticed paras din yung background color scheme natin. I think that helps us with our sanity because I think one of the things that our viewers always appreciate with our discussion with Attorney Carranza is as heavy, as intense, as Oppenheimer level, as intense as our discussion can get. You can see that, you know, love the Philippines, right? Tuloy ang laban. And the glass is always half empty or less than half empty. It's okay, but that matters. Every small victory matters. And for me, as I said, I'm not complacent. I'm not being, let's say, rose tinted in how I view things, but I see the arc of history sometimes bending towards justice and sometimes more than other era, and that's why thank you so much for Attorney Carranza for that very comprehensive point of view. Have a lovely day and lovely week, and I hope we can catch up on even more positive developments with respect to Philippine justice system. God bless. Maraming salamat,
Of course.
Attorney.
Thank you for having me.
As
Bye-bye.
always, Attorney Carranza. God bless. Okay guys, on that note, thank you very much. Yan, si Attorney Carranza po yung kausap natin. I always appreciate having him with us. You can really see he's a person who, I mean, we may not agree 100% everything, especially, I mean, sometimes my political analysis is slightly different from folks from international law background, but I think, you know, he does an absolutely brilliant job of really breaking down the legal issues affecting our country, but also internally affecting a lot of people in the opposition. Um, I think it's also very important for us to push back against a lot of misinformation and disinformation. No, so it's not just disinformation, but also misinformation. I think one of the problems we have is that sometimes coverage of some very important technical issues is not complete, or minsan medyo tagilid, or minsan medyo pahapyaw, kaya madali magkakaroon ng disinformation. So as Attorney Carranza correctly pointed out, we have a situation whereby half-baked coverage of cases involving corruption scandals tend to actually help the trolls and help the disinformation machine. So may responsibilidad talaga ang mga journalists, ng mga media institutions para talagang siguraduhin na they don't make it too easy for, you know, those who should not have it that easy. On that note, thank you very much, guys, and hopefully we can catch up soon. We're also arranging interviews with other great people, luminaries among others. Thank you so much dun sa mga nag-join sa atin on a very different topic, different approach, of course, on sexuality, on the social media, mental health. Kahapon kausap namin dun sa Real Talk naman namin, ibang platform ko with Dr. Rica Cruz. We're hoping to have also another great luminary. Kung si Attorney Carranza naman sa legal world, eto naman sa ekonomista, no? So of course you can guess this is Winnie Munsut, Professor Munsut. We're hoping to have her also next week. Similar conversation, pag-usapan natin ang Pilipinas, yung kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, kasaysayan ng development in the Philippines, what went right and what went wrong, and also yung kanyang read dun sa first year ni Marcos Jr. and what to look forward to. Of course, next week also be SONA. So looking forward to discussing SONA, folks. Obviously, you can imagine me. I'll be, God willing, in my barong and doing the rounds to break down the SONA next week. So we'll have a lot of discussion about the great challenges that await Marcos Jr. next year. Just my first article on the first year of Marcos just came out. Ifo-forward ko yan. It's with the National, yung mga kaibigan natin dyan sa UAE, United Arab Emirates. Please check it out, but this is online so anyone can check it out. And of course, I'll also provide updates very soon on my public lecture. So yung mga gustong dumaan, meet us in person, meet and greet. I will be at Ayala Museum in August 12. I'll give a lecture on the 21st century Ilustrado, right? So yun po yung gagawin natin. So yung mga minamahal natin na followers, yung mga naniwala sa ating mga adhikain, please don't mind my konting entrance fee, but it's just a bit more expensive than watching Barbie. But it's gonna be a long lecture, engaging lecture, and I look forward to seeing you guys in Ayala Museum next month, God willing, inshallah. On that note, thank you very much again, and also watch out for our next interviews. We're arranging all of that. And in the meantime, yes, magpahinga muna ako kasi ang ginagawa ko is Tito duties, trabaho, drive. Ayan, tuloy. Medyo humina tayo ng konti, but tuloy-tuloy ang ating efforts, no, to bring you guys the most possible substantive discussion on the state of affairs. And as you know, when I do podcasts, it's a conversation. I give my opinion, they give their opinion. It's a back and forth dialogue, so it's quite different from what you get elsewhere. And that's exactly the point of doing. Thank you very much, guys, and talk to you soon. God bless.